Good afternoon. We're starting a few minutes early, but I think we've already got quite a few students here, so it makes sense to get started. I wouldn't want to keep you on hold. So welcome once again to the 6th edition of the Global Art and Design Education Expo. And this is our second breakout session for the day. Joining me today is Cameron Wilson. He's at the University of Dundee, and he's the Associate Dean for International, working really closely with the Duncan of Jordanstone College of Art and Design, Architecture and Urban Planning, also known as DJCAD. So Duncan we're really happy that Duncan is here today. He's actually traveled down from UK for this session to participate in this event. And he's got a lot of experience in the field of architecture and urban planning. He's worked with some of the leading firms in London and Edinburgh. He's in fact even been the head of architecture and urban planning at the University of Dundee's College of Art and Design, where he's taught all levels of the Master of Architecture course. Not only that, he's an active contributor, so he also plays the role of an external assessor for the Heriot-Watt University in Dubai, for the projects that they do in the field of architecture, and he is, an absolute gem of a person, I would say. So, creative arts in the UK, from study to professional practice. I think what we're going to learn here today is a lot about how you can take what you learn and leverage that in your professional career. How you can prepare yourself, to actually excel in the field of arts. And I'd really like to thank all of you for making here for this session. And over to you.
Thank you for that introduction. Good afternoon, everyone. It's real nice to be here today and have a brief chat with you about aspects of study in the creative disciplines and professional practice in the future. The introduction kind of covers most of my sort of background as an academic and as a professional individual. The images that I'll show you just now, I'm using the evidence from University of Dundee, but actually I'm going to be speaking a little bit more generally to you about aspects of sort of creative disciplines across the world. And just to say, this is usually where I am located in the DJCAD, as we call it, the College of Art and Design at University of Dundee. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the tiny little city that is Dundee. We're on the east coast of Scotland, about an hour north of Edinburgh, and about an hour's flight north of London. Although we're a small city, we actually play quite a large part in the design world, nationally and globally. The City of Dundee is a UNESCO City of Design. When the V&A, the Victoria and Albert Museum in London, were looking for a location for their new Museum of Design, they selected Dundee as being the best location for that. And those of you that are architectural graduates, I'm sure you recognise a Ken Nkrumah building, which was completed just a few years ago. The reason for kind of talking about this is about kind of putting things into a context, because that's what you'll be needing to do as you progress through your studies and beyond, is always kind of understanding a wider context of where you might fit within that, and ensuring that experience that you get over either your undergraduate or your postgraduate study relates to a wider context beyond university. I sometimes have to remind my colleagues at university that as much as the hard-working students who have arrived to study with us are enjoying the experience, they don't live with us forever. They do actually go out into the wide world, and they do have careers beyond that. So yeah, that thing about the sort of context for where one is situated. The City of Design UNESCO awards is awarded to a number of cities around the globe, and we're the only one within the UK to have that award on us. In terms of the creative industries, again, I'm using the UK as a context here, but one can examine this in other countries around the globe. So I've borrowed some information from the UK Creative Industries group that have done the research for the information here. I think sometimes people forget just how impactful the creative industries are. And the reason for putting up this diagram is to, or these images, is to give some context for how important it is, certainly within the UK. So there's a number of figures there. I'm not going to go through all of them, but 2.1 million people within the UK are employed within creative industries. Another 1.4 million jobs were created directly by the creative industries. 3.5 million jobs dependent on creative industries, and more than 1 in 10 UK jobs. Out of that, 1/3 of the workforce is employed. Now, again, these things might vary slightly from one region of the world to another, but I think it helps to demonstrate, certainly within the UK context, just how fundamental the creative industries are. Again, kind of using a few other figures to this. Creative industries contributing about £116 billion to the UK economy. These figures were taken in 2019, so just before the pandemic kicked in, so it's kind of readjusting again as we come out of the pandemic. However, 116 billion to the UK economy. So that's, you can see it there, it's only just behind sort of financial and insurance industries, and just below the construction industry. 160 billion, that's more than aerospace, automotive, life sciences, and the oil and gas sectors, which are all large industries within the UK, larger than all of those combined for the creative industry. So I think sometimes people, when they're thinking of going into a design discipline or a creative discipline, they sometimes have to explain where that relevance is within the context of their country or their region. And I think when you're able to kind of do a bit of research yourselves for other parts of the world, you'll find that actually creative industries do have an impact. It won't be identical to the UK's, but I think it's a worthwhile piece of information to put things into a context. Similarly, creative industries are very much about sort of placemaking. They have an impact within the regions around the UK, and it does vary depending on the nature of the location, the locale. And just sort of finally on this segment, creative clusters exist around the UK, and they do in other countries as well. The quote there from my dean back at Dundee, Anita Taylor, just commenting on the fact that we are doing the UNESCO Creative City of Design in the UK, and part of a regeneration plan for the city, which is going on over the next few decades. So again, it's being able to understand where one positions oneself within these industries, and then sort of coming down to the kind of more personal effect of what you're doing within the context of this. Communities that exist, whether it's a global community like a UNESCO City of Design group, or whether it's a community that's national when you're looking at an industry or museums. But then actually when you're coming down to looking at where you fit in, you're part of a creative community. And whilst you're studying, you're part of a creative community within that institution. For us, we're very much industry and research informed, so not only are we looking at the theoretical, but we're also looking at how that connects to industry. We are specialists in interdisciplinary, so again, when you're developing your undergraduate, postgraduate studies, you find that you are straddling between being a specialist, but these days, the way the world operates, the way the creative disciplines operate, you're often working interdisciplinary as well. I do have quite a few slides in this presentation. I'm not going to go through all of them in detail. I will flip through quite a few quickly. But the aspects of study for us, social, cultural, economic impact, solving real world problems is part of our duty, our responsibility as an academic institution. Employability, enterprise and entrepreneurship is embedded in everything we do these days in our design programs, and I think it's becoming more and more personal for people as you develop your careers over the next few decades. Rankings exist for lots of different things. So anyway, where you are at this point in time, whether it's looking to start on an undergraduate or whether it's looking to start on a postgraduate program, you're at the beginnings of a journey that will progress for quite a number of years. And I think there was probably a talk earlier on, and probably another one later on, is talking about portfolios and how to put these things together for entering into an academic environment. That whole thing of collating information and presenting it to others doesn't actually just stop at university. It's something you will be doing throughout your professional life, whether it's getting your first job, whether it's working with an organisation, making a pitch to a client or to a group of people. So the things that you're doing just now, you'll find that you'll do in different form as you progress through your career. This is a bit where I'm going to flip through a number of images, but the nature of programs are such that you need to be not only focused on building your academic skills and building your understanding of the subject, but you also have an awareness of what the effect is, what the impact is beyond university, beyond your studies. The images here are from clips of around our studio spaces. For quite a number of creative disciplines, you're looking to achieve an award, whether it's an honours degree or a master's degree or even a PhD from a university. A number of programs obviously have professional qualifications attached to it, such as things like architecture and urban planning, which is usually a professionally controlled subject area. So you've got other things that you have to deal with as well within your life. I put this image up of a kind of typical undergraduate module, series of modules over a 4-year period. And it's really just to highlight the fact that you'll see listed in there's things like design enterprise, research and creative practice, communication futures. Each and every one of these, whilst we are needing to address certain learning outcomes, it's building on that experience to aid and assist people as they go out beyond university. Whether it's doing a project that's based entirely within the institution, or whether it's looking at engaging with companies and local practices in the area. Postgraduate. So that thing of moving from undergraduate to postgraduate, it's been really interesting to be here. It's been great to be back in India once again. I was here a couple of months ago, and been a long time since I've been before that. So it's good to be back out here and listen to what people are saying when they're asking about the programs internationally. You'll no doubt have been doing your studies on the nature of how master's programs operate in different countries, and they might vary a little bit from one to the other. I think master's in India is typically sort of 2.5 years long. In the US, I think it's about 2 years. In China, it's about 3 years. In the UK, typically it's 1 year, 1 calendar year. There's reasons as to why these are set up in different countries. It's usually based on what people have done beforehand and where they're going to next. I think the master's programmes in the UK, and certainly at our institution, are quite focused. They're really quite intense. They run over 3 semesters, going from September through to the following August. There's always a decision to be made when you're going from undergraduate to postgraduate, of course, and one is if you're going from a subject area that's similar, say product design undergraduate, product design postgraduate, one would expect the reason for doing that is because you want to become a specialist, you want to go more deeply into the subject area. There's the other side to that position, of course, is whether you're looking to complement or supplement your previous experience. You may have done an undergraduate degree in one field and then look to do a postgraduate qualification in a slightly different field that adds to your unique selling point, adds to your uniqueness because you've got something to offer that maybe others don't. So that evaluation of the relevance of your master's experience is entirely a valuable and important thing to do. And again, with a series of programs that we've got there. The next few slides have got a series of different programs that we offer. But I was just kind of highlighting the sort of industries that people go into. So coming out with, just have to have product design first on the screen, coming out with a master's in product design, one may well go into the field and operate as a product designer. But not necessarily. It might be that you go into a field that is in project management because you have to have a skill set and understanding that others don't. So you're moving into different, perhaps different industries than the one you'd anticipated. Similarly with the likes of animation, VFX, comics and graphic novels, people are coming in with very specific skills to go into an industry. Wonderful, great. That's the thing that one might typically expect people to follow. But actually, there's other things in there that you've got skills for, which I'll come on to towards the end, that are beneficial to other industries. So again, it's really important for you as you're going through your academic experience at whichever institution you're with, that you're still keeping an open mind on where you might go next, so you're able to understand what opportunity might come along at any given moment. So again, that thing, you'll find there's differences in different countries of how master's programs are set up within institutions and how they operate, and you'll need to, over the next little while, think about what makes sense for you as an individual, because you're the expert on you. People can offer guidance and so on subject areas and the sort of opportunities that might exist, but I think you're the person that will be in control of your destiny, certainly. Sorry, I'm flipping through these because I use this for a different talk as well. The thing about masters as well, you'll find there's a series of different qualifications that go along with it, whether it's an MDes or MSc or an MFA within the UK. The designation is often arrived at because of the university's processes, but they're all master's programs. Yeah, I mean, again, sort of coming onto a master's program, we have to have spatial planning as one that you don't need a portfolio to come into, but allows you to qualify as a planner. And we're finding more and more people are sort of going through their undergraduate study, having enjoyed that experience, but then actually coming to a point where they think, well, now's the time. I've learned a lot about a particular subject area. I've learned a lot about myself, and I see how the world is developing, and I want to actually perhaps take a different opportunity. And again, it's been interesting over the past couple of days to hear from many of you that are doing just that, that you're looking to perhaps take a different journey. And again, postgraduate study, as one might expect, there are, well, certainly in the UK system, there's fewer modules that one will select, but there's exploring practice, for instance, where we look to engage with companies and industries alongside sort of theoretical sort of development of one subject area. And then in the third semester, one can either develop a studio task, a project, independently for a 12-week period or so, or they can actually work within industry or engaging with industry to make that step into the world of work and careers, and perhaps more straightforwardly and more easily. Workshops and facilities we also have. That's actually one of the things when you find you leave university, you leave art college, and you go out into practice, you realise just how many facilities were made available to you while you were studying. I know when I left studying architecture, I really missed the library because I wasn't able to get there all the time, but maybe that was just me, maybe it was a bit sad that way. Yes, industry connections. I think, certainly for us in Dundee and at many other institutions, we focus on making those industry connections all the time, so that you understand the application of the theory within a real world environment. I think maybe in the early stages of undergraduate, it's perhaps a little bit harder to grasp that. It's not until you're getting towards the end of your undergraduate and certainly in your postgraduate you realise the benefits of that. As with any institution, our graduates go off to all sorts of interesting careers in the future. Joanna has been pretty successful with her publications over the past few years. And yes, Dr. Amal, who studied with us just a few years ago on our MSc with Design for Healthcare, having come from a medical healthcare background, was really interested in developing her understanding of design thinking as a method to enhance her experience, and got a great deal out of that. Obviously, we started to operate with us, as with most institutions, are pretty hard-working individuals doing lots of research or exhibitions, development of ideas around the world. And of course, beyond masters, if you happen to still want to develop your understanding of a subject area or fascinated by a challenge, a task, one can then move on to sort of PhD study and go down the academic route, which a few people do. So at the start I was talking about creative industries and giving a sort of wider context and value, the value in terms of pounds to the UK economy. Because I think people don't always appreciate just how valuable creative industries are. The other thing that perhaps not everyone is fully appreciative of are the transferable skills that what a design graduate and art graduate comes out with at the end of their academic career, whether that's at undergraduate, postgraduate level. In any of, certainly at University of Dundee, and again, probably relevant to other institutions, the importance of transferable skills can't be stated strongly enough. Transferable skills, I think a lot of the time students from design or art programs don't fully appreciate just how many of these skills that they have at the end of their program and how valuable that is. Whilst someone may well be focused on graphic design, textile design, product design, whatever, fine art, and are completely 100% committed to that subject, really enjoying it, working many hours a day, every day of the week, enjoying it most of the time, probably. and are fascinated by that subject, I think probably what don't realise is that throughout your career as a student, you've been doing projects, maybe working with a group of other students, but actually you may be working as a team. We certainly try and focus very much on the fact that if students are working in multiples, that they are working in a team. So all the time if you're watching television or you're watching sports, you don't hear people talking about a cricket group or a hockey group. It's a cricket team, it's a hockey team. And the thing is that when you're out in practice, you're working in a team. Even if you're working as an individual for yourself, you're still working with others, you're working with a team. So team working and leadership, very much something that creative students are doing. Similarly with project planning, management, you've been set to design a project, you've got submission in 4 weeks' time, you've got to gather lots of information, you've got to be able to present that at the end. Of course, you've got to pass your course, but actually there's a whole sequence of things that have to happen in order for you to get to that deadline. So project planning, management, research, problem solving, it's all part of the challenge that you have at our art school, design school. Critical and evaluative thinking. Again, that's something that creative students are doing all the time. The critical and evaluative thinking in a design and art student will probably be a little bit different to maybe a science student. They might think in a slightly different fashion. It's not that one's right, one's wrong, one's better, one's not so good. It's just they're different. And I think that's the thing that sometimes we have to be able to communicate and explain to others in industries or when you're looking for jobs. IT skills, actually, creative students are fantastic at IT skills because you usually, by the time you come out of your education, you've got a massive range of skills across a number of platforms. And of course, communication. That's what creative students are doing all the time. You're communicating through a range of different types of media, whether it's graphic, moving images, sound, turning something into entertaining and engaging presentation, taking challenging, difficult subject areas and being able to communicate that in a succinct and easily translatable format. And the thing that I was talking very briefly about animation and our comics and graphic novels program is that whilst people are coming out with certain skill sets, actually those programs are very much about creating a narrative, creating a means by which to communicate something that might be quite difficult, quite complex to understand and communicate, and being able to do that in a succinct and straightforward fashion. So communication for art design students is pretty good. And of course creativity. Art design students tend to have pretty creative minds, and that's certainly of value in any industry. So any of these things, and there are other transferable skills, but any of these transferable skills are important and vital to any industry. It doesn't have to necessarily be simply within the creative industries. Graduate opportunities, certainly students once they graduate will have built up a network of their own. It's very important to continue to do that throughout your time. You're continually responding to a changing world all the time. You guys have got careers for the next 30 or 40 years. The world will continue to change, it won't stand still. And the fact that all of you have come along today, looking to speak to institutions in whether it's the US or UK or Europe or elsewhere, I think is a really valuable and important thing to do. International experience, I know it's a fairly sizable financial commitment to make, but the value, I don't mean just in terms of money, the value is immense. And just to kind of wrap up, one of the things about kind of reaching out First of all, the usual first step that students in creative disciplines will do is through that sort of degree show. Then those are things that are on our website just now. There'll be another one coming up in a few weeks' time. I think that's probably all I'll cover just now. It's probably a little bit longer than I thought I was going to speak, but thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions from anyone.
So let's give a big round of applause.